Nobody talks about this honestly. Every dating channel will tell you how to attract women, how to text, how to build confidence, but almost nobody addresses the moment that actually separates the men who grow from the men who give up. The moment she says no. Because here's what most guys don't realize. How you handle rejection reveals more about your character than almost anything else you could do. It reveals your emotional maturity, your self-respect, your actual level of confidence, not the performed version, the real one. And here's the part that might surprise you. A man who handles rejection with genuine grace and dignity often earns more respect from a woman in that single moment than he built through weeks of trying to impress her. 5 ways, real psychology. Let's get into it. Number 1, accept it without negotiating. This is the foundation, and most guys fail here immediately. She says she's not interested, and instead of accepting it cleanly, he negotiates. He asks why. He tries to change her mind. He suggests maybe she'll feel differently later. He pushes back in ways that feel reasonable to him, but communicate one thing to her. He doesn't respect her answer. Here's the psychological reality. When a woman says no and a man negotiates, he's not demonstrating persistence. He's demonstrating that her feelings matter less than his desired outcome. And that reveals something about his character that no amount of charm can undo. The high-value response is clean acceptance. Not cold, not dramatic, just calm acknowledgement. Something as simple as, I appreciate you being straight with me. No hard feelings. That's it. No follow-up questions. No fishing for reasons. No leaving the door open in ways that signal you're still hoping she'll change her mind. Clean acceptance communicates something powerful. It communicates that your sense of self doesn't depend on her yes. And that, paradoxically, is one of the most attractive things she will ever see from you. Number 2, don't make it her fault. This one matters more than most guys realize. The moment rejection happens, a lot of men, consciously or not, shift into a mode of subtle blame. She becomes cold, shallow, someone who doesn't know what she's missing. The rejection gets reframed as her failure rather than just an outcome. And sometimes this doesn't even come out directly. It leaks through in how he acts afterward. The slightly passive attitude, the subtle withdrawal of warmth, the way he talks about her to mutual friends. All of it communicates the same thing. His ego couldn't absorb the outcome cleanly, so someone else had to be responsible for it. Here's the truth, bro. Rejection is just incompatibility. It's not a verdict on your worth. It's not a judgment on who you are. It's one person at one moment saying, this isn't the right fit for me right now. That's it. Nothing more. The man who can hold that understanding, who can receive a no without needing to make it someone's fault, shows a level of emotional maturity that is genuinely rare. And rare things always get noticed. Number 3, stay in your own energy. This is the one that separates men who are actually high value from men who are just performing it. After rejection, most guys do one of 2 things. They become visibly deflated, their energy drops, their confidence shrinks, they withdraw from the social environment, or they overcorrect. They become louder, more performative, trying to prove through their behavior that the rejection didn't affect them. Both responses reveal the same thing, that it did affect them, that their internal state is being controlled by an external outcome. The genuinely high-value response is to stay exactly in your own energy. Same warmth, same presence, same engagement with the people around you. Not as a performance, but because your internal state genuinely doesn't collapse based on one person's response. Psychologically, this is called emotional regulation. The ability to experience a disappointment, and it is a disappointment. There's no point pretending otherwise, without letting it derail your entire state. When she sees you handle a no and remain completely yourself, present, warm, unbothered, that creates a very specific impression. She sees a man whose sense of self is genuinely stable, and that impression often outlasts the rejection itself. Number 4, treat her the same way afterward. This one is where most guys reveal their true character without realizing it. How you treat someone after they reject you tells her, and everyone watching, exactly what your interest was built on. If you go cold, become distant, stop engaging with her completely, you've communicated that your warmth was conditional, that it existed as a means to an end, and that the friendliness you showed her was never really about her as a person. It was about what you wanted from her. The high-value man treats her the same way after a rejection as he did before. Not awkwardly, not with forced enthusiasm, just normally, with the same basic warmth and respect he'd show anyone. This doesn't mean you have to maintain a deep friendship or spend significant time with her. You're allowed to naturally create some distance if that's what you need. But the quality of how you treat her when you do interact shouldn't change based on her answer. Because here's the thing. People talk, and how you behaved after a rejection will be discussed. The man who handles it with genuine class becomes someone women speak well of, even when saying they're not interested. And that reputation, the reputation of a man who respects people regardless of outcome, is one of the most valuable things you can build socially. Number 5, use it as information, not as a wound. This is the highest level response to rejection and the one that actually creates long-term growth. Most men experience rejection as a wound, something that happened to them, something that confirms a fear they already had about themselves. But rejection is actually the most honest information you can receive in dating. More honest than any compliment, more useful than any positive signal. It tells you something about compatibility, something about timing, something about where you are in your own development and what might be worth working on. And if you can receive it as information rather than injury, it becomes one of the most valuable things that could happen to you. Ask yourself honestly after a rejection, not defensively, not self-critically, just honestly, was there something in how I approached this that I could do better? Was this about genuine incompatibility or about something I can grow from? Sometimes the answer is genuine incompatibility. Sometimes it's a timing issue. Sometimes it reveals something worth developing. But you can only access that information if you're not too busy being wounded by the outcome to look at it clearly. The man who treats rejection as data rather than damage gets better every single time. And the man who gets better every single time eventually stops getting rejected for the same reasons twice. Let's bring this together, bro. Rejection is not the end of something. It's information. It's a moment that reveals character, yours specifically. And every man who has ever become genuinely good with women has a history of rejections they handled well enough to learn from. The 5 ways we covered: accepting cleanly, not assigning blame, staying in your energy, treating her the same afterward, using it as information. None of them require you to not feel the disappointment. You're allowed to feel it. That's human. What they require is that you don't let the feeling become the story, that you process it, extract what's useful, and keep moving. Because here's the final truth. The men who handle rejection with the most grace are almost always the men who face it the least. Not because they stop trying, but because the character you build by handling rejection well is the same character that creates attraction in the first place. Now you know how to handle a no, but the real question is, how do you create the confidence to put yourself out there in the first place? How do you approach a woman you're genuinely attracted to without the fear of that outcome controlling your decision? That's exactly what the next video covers. The art of approaching a woman and why it's far easier than you've been making it. It's already on the channel. Go watch it right now.